Welcome to the TFO podcast, where guests get to give their thoughts, feelings, and opinions on a variety of subjects. This podcast is hosted by your very own Stacy Cook, and as always, sponsored by Fool's Guide Life Coaching. Follow me on all social media platforms. So give it up for our guest today. Yeah. So here you are with the BLM. I got my Black Panther shirt on today for this one. So we talk about Black Lives Matter, and I know you've been to some of those marches as well. I think my first question is, as a non-Black person supporting something like Black Lives Matter, you're going to get backlash from Black people that say, "How do you know what we're going through? You're not a Black person. You can't go through what Black people go through."
Right.
So a little pushback from that group. Another little pushback from the other side, the Caucasian side, that says, "Why are you so supportive of that? These people are doing these things." So you got a whole bunch of different people. You kind of fall right in the middle.
I do think, I do probably get it more from white people,
Okay.
personally, than I've gotten it from Black people, at least the Black people that I'm around, that I surround myself with. I don't pretend to fully understand. I'm not going to sit here and say I fully understand, because I don't live your life as a Black person.
Right.
But what I do know is that I have submerged myself into the Black people's lives and culture since a small kid.
Right.
And I paid attention.
Yeah.
And I have a Black husband, I have Black children, so I have to pay attention and I have to educate myself. I'm never going to fully understand what it means to live as a Black person in America right now,
No.
Nor what they went through many moons ago. But I have to try to understand, or at least find some place to start so I can educate my own kids and try to understand their life every day and what they're experiencing, and try to help them navigate as a Black person.
Do they see it as a big a deal as you do? Do you care more about this than they do?
Yes. They do. I do. Yes. They don't get it. Or at least I don't know if they're just trying to get under my skin, but sometimes they're like, "It's not a big deal, Mom." But it is.
I think the older we are, the more of a big deal it is.
But also because we've seen the change, right?
Yeah,
I
right.
mean,
Yeah.
I may not have seen all of it. I wasn't around in the 40s, 50s, 60s, but I've seen the change, even for better or for worse. I mean, I've seen it go both ways. There was a time where I thought the world was heading in a new direction, and then you get one buffoon in office and everybody comes out, and I feel like we're back to the 50s.
So with women's rights, it looks like it's going to take generations to make these changes, and we can kind of flip that same thought process over to Black Lives Matter and say the same. It's going to take generations of change to try to get to a better situation. Do you agree?
I agree, but I feel like we've gone backwards somehow. I mean, it's been generations, and we're still moving backwards instead of. And I guess I could say that about women too. There was a time where women fought for rights and fought, and then here we are.
I would ask you, who are the people that have that voice that can make a change?
I really think it needs to be more of the white community that tries to be an ally and to really understand what it means to be an ally.
Yeah.
Not to say, like you referenced, I don't see color. Well, that's bull.
Everybody does. Yeah.
So you can't be an ally if you say, "I don't see color." That to me is like a red flag when I hear people say that.
Yeah.
Like, okay, because I'm watching you now because you're full of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can't truly be an ally and help people if you can't acknowledge the differences, because there are differences.
For sure, right. Good, bad, whatever. It's not, to me, it's not even good or bad. It just is. Like, certain things are what they are.
They are what they are, but that's part of the problem, is a lot of the white community will say, I don't have privilege, I work for it. As in a sense of, okay, so the next person's not working for it, that is a completely different concept. There are plenty of black people that have worked hard all their lives that can't get as far as the white man.
It's gonna take a long time for people to change their mindset in a group.
Right.
So then society sees that there's a change, and then you're
right. That comes from the years and years of systemic racism and I mean oppression and all those things. It's changing not just the mindset of the white community but the black community, because there's also a reluctance to do it. I mean, they're not as much of willing to go out and take a risk, I guess is what I'm saying. Yeah. Because if you do get some success, I have to protect that because it's going to get ripped out from under me, because who controls everything? The white man controls everything. I mean,
well, yeah, as a black man, that's what you hear a lot of. It's like, they did this to me. They didn't hire me. They didn't promote me. They didn't whoever the infamous they is the ones that are holding me back. And I think that's why if black people really want to have those opportunities, then you need to have a bigger system that allows for more people to move forward. Right? Will that happen in my lifetime? I don't know.
We're moving towards it. There are some successful black businessmen right now and Hollywood famous who are facilitating more black-owned, businesses and ventures and different things. So, but
it's interesting, right? So if somebody says, black people should hire black people, open businesses for black people so that they can move up and do those things, it almost sounds wrong. Like, usually people look at that and say, oh man, but in other nationalities, it is very common for different groups to make sure that those are the people that they hire. And so I do think that there's some stigma around that at this point, just to...
And I've heard that from people, like, what's the difference if, a black business hires black people, then they're racist, right?
Or something. There's at least something kind
there's
of.
There's a backlash. And I wouldn't say racist, but I do see where, if I say I have a black business and I'm going to, focus on the black community, I still feel like you have to try to give opportunity in general.
I agree. I think best person for the job, right? I do think that.
But at the end of the day, it still goes back to trying to understand each other and come to that common ground, because there is a clear difference. And it really just stems from experiences. But if we can get those experiences to change and how we are treated as people, then it doesn't necessarily have to be such a separation.
Yeah, but you have to convince everyone.
I know.
When you have a stereotype, and then somebody feeds into the stereotype in a negative way, that only makes it harder for every single other person, no matter what group you're in.
And I don't know if it's ever going to truly go away, because you're going to always have generations of people who are going to teach their children these stereotypes, no matter what.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if it's ever going to truly go away.
Then why all this activism?
Because it's not okay.
It is not, right?
I'm just going to keep doing it until I'm gone.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's all I could do. If I can change one person's mind, then I suppose I've done my job.
I mean, that's what life coaching is for me. If I can change one person at a time, help one person at a time, that's you try to do that and see what happens. But trying to change these big groups, whether it's, inclusion and diversity or of all people or individual groups, is not easy. with anything, there's some luck involved, but I think people have to be willing to work. School is hard. You know this. Like when somebody says, "Hey, you got to go to college," it's like, man, it is not an easy thing.
It's not.
For people to move, you have to be smarter, right? And it's not just school, but just overall, you need to be, you need to gain some knowledge and be open to it.
Yeah.
Which one of them's easier? Which one of them's gonna get going the fastest? Is it the women's initiative? Is it the Black Lives Matter initiative? Which one's going faster?
It's probably the women's initiative as well. No, it's not.
You don't think so?
No, because look at where we're at right now. Oh, good God. No. I don't know. I don't know that any of them are moving very fast, clearly.
If somebody has some way to convince, right? So how do we do that?
Sitting down and coming to the table for one thing. I think it's just, like I said, there's always going to be people who are going to be racist or whatever, no matter what you say or do. You can talk to anybody as many times as you want, and they're still just going to have that inherent thing that's just never going to go away. But if you truly want to sit down and talk to people and get to know, to erase the fears or the fear of the unknown, or because I truly believe that's a lot of what it is the fear of the unknown. White people are fearful of black men in particular. It's an inherent fear, whatever. If you sit down and get to know people, then maybe that fear goes away.
I'm not scary. Ish. I have my moments.
No, but we are taught that black men are violent. We are taught that black women are aggressive. We're,
Yeah, and then the propaganda that comes along with it, whether it's...
And then it's the news. And
that's my point, right? Yeah.
Who also reinforce those stereotypes of, when something happens, you are reinforcing the stereotype by showing the stereotype.
Yeah.
Instead of showing the other side. So it's a contribution all the way around.
But then the groups also videotape and show same
I'm
stuff.
not saying there's no responsibility in the black community either, because there's also some responsibility to be held in the black community.
Yeah.
It's hard to not fall back to those stereotypes when you don't have the resources.
Mm-hmm.
You've been told that you are to conduct yourself just like women in a certain way because this is the expectation.
Right.
You're never going to go anywhere. You're never going to have anything. This is your life. Here it is.
If you believe you're at the bottom, it makes it very difficult for you to find your way.
And you can have everybody who tells you that you're at the bottom.
Yeah, and treat you accordingly.
And treat you accordingly by many, many means, whether it's the educational system in black communities is terrible. There's no funding there. We don't want to educate black people because what are you afraid of? It's about keeping people down where you think they should be. And how are you going to do that? You're going to not give them the money, financially, educational, all of the above, the housing market, all of the things that keep the black community oppressed. Yes. Or I'm going to keep them in jail. I mean, we can talk about that. It's just another form of slavery. Here we are. And then the media wants you to believe that the black people are committing more crime. That's a lie. It's just a flat out lie.
But as a black man, I feel like my responsibility is not to feed into those things. It is not to commit any crimes. It's not to do the thing. It's to be educated. It's to in my job as a father and as a black man is to do the best that I can to try to be a role model for other people. It doesn't matter if they take that in, but I try to have the biggest impact on the most people as I can. Right. So these are two really tough discussions. We're probably you're more suited to have those discussions than I am, but I do think that neither one of these is easy. Mm-hmm. It's going to take a long time to actually get where we're going. I think women are more equipped to try to make some real change because there's just more of them in the United States. So if we're just talking sheer voting,
right.
If all the women said we're voting for one candidate, and you pick the candidate, and every woman voted for that candidate, they would get in.
Right.
It's just simple as that. Like if they wanted to get somebody in politics,
Right.
you could literally just put out a Facebook post that says every woman needs to vote for this woman.
Right.
And you could, right? Black people don't have it that way. You can't just do that.
Well, no, because they don't have the control of anything at this point.
But
they haven't.
Yeah, interestingly enough, that when a black president did run, people did come out of the woodwork and vote for that person, at least for 2 terms, right?
Mm-hmm.
But even then, you had a lot of support from other folks as well. But so it's that probably is how it works, right? So the black people get up and contribute to something, but then all of the other supporters from the
and I do think there are more white people or other ethnicities in general who are willing, who don't share the racism.
Oh, for sure.
I think there's more good people than there are people who are racist. However, it's the fear of speaking up and acting in a manner that you're going to lose your place.
Exactly.
And where you're at.
Yeah.
You can't fear that, or it's never going to change.
So that's here we go, right? So that's
I mean,
that is the rub when you have those groups. Usually, like I have great friends, right? That are white friends, great friends that are more than willing to speak up about any of these issues. They're like, yeah, this isn't right. I can't live your life, but I don't think it's right. And we kind of have these discussions. But they're in no danger of losing their position by just having those discussions. It's those other people that are like, hey, I'm not trying to make any waves. Things seem to be going well. Just like, let's just keep it moving, right?
Right. And you can't fear that because then it'll never change.
Yeah.
So, I don't care. Myself, I don't care who I piss off at this point.
I've noticed that.
If I got something to say about it, I'm gonna whether it's women, Black lives, whatever.
Yeah.
LGBTQ, whatever. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I don't care. And I suppose I could harm my career in the process. But
we
at
need
the end
nurses.
of the day,
we need nurses.
at the end of the day, if that's what it is, that's what it. Then I'm not supposed to be there anymore.
Yeah. Yep.